more suspected illegal miners appeared in the Barberton Magistrate's Court in Mpumalanga today. They resurfaced from Sheba Gold Mine on Monday. This was days after hundreds more had emerged. Now, this has raised questions over whether government has handled or has handle on this problem. Let's speak now to the Mineral Resources Minister, Gwede Mantashe, who joins us for more on this issue and other matters of national interest. Minister, good evening to you. Thank you very much for your time. Good evening, sir. Illegal mining is becoming intractable in South Africa. Why do you think that is? And is there a plan from government to try and end it?
You see, Goli, I'm like a broken record now when I say that illegal mining is a criminal activity. That's why Operation Volume Gwede is actually led by the police, not by the MPR, because we're dealing with a criminal activity. I'm quite comfortable with the work of the police in this regard. And I pledge my support and the support of the unit that is attached to the police from the department that provides analysis and information. And as long as we do that, we'll, in the long term, overcome. But illegal mining is not just going to disappear, Polly. It's a criminal activity. It's like cash heist. If it was for the wishes, there would be no cash heist in South Africa by today. But criminal activities are not determined by government. Government has to deal with those criminal activities. It's the same principle that applies to the illegal mining.
Yeah.
But they were on with it. It was still Fontaine last year. It is Barberton now, and we'll continue dealing with it. What should happen when we amend the MPRDR? We are going to strengthen the question of the criminal aspect of illegal mining so that there are tougher actions taken by the state and the criminal procedures in the country. At this point in time, they are charged for trespassing, illegal entrance, and they get released at very cheap bail.
Yeah.
And they are out, and therefore police get discouraged. They arrest, and they get released. They meet them in the next operation.
The direct accusation against your department, Minister Mantashe, is that the reason it is not ending and it is not going to end anytime soon, as you say, is partly because artisanal mining is non-existent in South Africa. Yes, it is there on paper, but it is actually not being practiced. If it was, then there wouldn't be this widespread illegal activity around mines that are closed, even ones that are operational, like the one in Barberton now. How do you respond?
Is it only, we've started the program of artisanal and small-scale mining. We've issued the first 21 licenses, and we're going to be systematic about it. It's not formalizing illegal mining. It's actually giving opportunities to entrepreneurs who want to enter into mining. And we are going to continue doing that. And if you counterpose artisanal mining to illegal mining, you are committing a fatal mistake, and you are going to commit mistakes. And if you look into illegal mining, it's not dominated by South African citizens. It is mainly dominated by citizens from neighboring countries. Therefore, it means it's an issue of external forces attacking South African economy, and that should be dealt separately than artisanal mining. I'm not going to give artisanal mining licenses to Mozambicans or Lesotho citizens or Zimbabweans who dominate this space. I'm going to give those licenses to South Africans who want to be entrepreneurs in mining.
There is a view from one of the federations, labor federations in the country, and it's someone you know very well, who says it is a lack of regulation. Zwelinze Mavavi spoke to us last night. I'd like for you to listen to him for a moment.
This industry should be regulated. We've been calling for regulation of this artisan mining and the so-called Zamazama industry to make sure that we don't open everybody, no matter how vulnerable or how undocumented or so-called illegal they are. Nobody deserves to be thrown into the situation you saw in steel funding, where people go down 2.8 kilometers underground on a rope that is being pulled down and up by 12, 15 men upstairs. Nobody should be allowed to work under those circumstances.
How do you respond to Mr. Vavi?
My old friend, Zwelingzima Vavi, is a respected trade unionist. I'm a minister in this department for 8 years now. Have never seen him in that department engaging us on any views he has. So I listen to him on television, on radio, but what he doesn't explain is that of the about 1,600 people who were pulled out of Stilfontein, only 21 were South Africans. He must answer that question because that explains the reality of the crime we're dealing with. Only 21 people were South Africans, the rest were from everywhere else except South Africa. So regulation, he is again not aware of the law that actually regulate artisanal and small-scale mining. And in the revision of the legislation that is underway, that aspect of law is tightened and strengthened. Because he's not participating, he will not be aware of that. He is criticizing from a desktop analysis that he sits at home and does analysis. He must get involved. He must engage the department. We're one of the most open departments for engagement by various stakeholders in the country.
Final point on this matter, Minister Mantashe. Buffelsfontein, those are understood to be the owners of Stilfontein, and then the Sheba Gold Mine. The Benchmarks Foundation is of the strong opinion that government is soft on leaders, or should I say, mine management of these companies, because they are well aware of the activities on their mines, particularly the illegal activities that are taking place there, but they are not held accountable. What are you doing to hold these mine managements accountable?
Any operational mine is responsible for its rehabilitation program. That's why, despite all the problems in Stilfontein, we had to trace that owner, find him, even went to China to get him, and held him responsible for what was happening. Any money that was spent on that rescue operation by the state and the industry is going to be recovered from the owners, because there is what we call concurrent rehabilitation, which is the responsibility of operational mines. It is not like ownerless and derelict mines where the state takes over liability of the apartheid era where there was no regulation on rehabilitation. We have installed that regulation in the law. It was not there under apartheid. So anybody who criticizes this government for the sins of apartheid must be forgiven.
Let me move on to the policy of mining in South Africa. And a simple question to you. Is there a difference of opinion? Is there a clash of opinions between yourself and Neil Froneman? This is the CEO of Sibanye.
No, there's no clash of views with me and Neil. I have not seen him for a long time. We've met at the Mineral Council regularly, including 2 weeks ago. We meet them, we discuss issues, we share policy perspective. Neil is never in those meetings because though he can pretend to be neutral, he is owning a company that has a presence in South Africa, Sibanye, and a presence in America, Still Waters. And therefore, the question of double identity of the company I always appreciate it. And if Neil have a view that he can develop policy for South African mining from America, unfortunately, we'll disagree on that.
I'd like for us to tell us more about this, because this view that you hold now appears to stem from what is understood to have been a plan or proposal from him, and this was ahead of President Ramaphosa's meeting with President Trump in May at the White House, and this is something that you did not take kindly to. What do you know? What can you tell us about that particular proposal?
Taking kind is a different matter, Oli. Here is a few business people, which I know by name, which I did engage, squeeze what they call is a proposal to a delegation to America. That proposal has not gone to the Mineral Council, which is the home for 90 mining companies in South Africa. It has not come to our ministry. It has not been discussed with labor in the sector. It is squeezed there, and we object to that. We say, if people have views, they must bring it here. Because if they take a proposal because they met Neil, Neil will negotiate on the basis of his business interest in America, and we can't help that. It is legitimate. He must negotiate for his business, but he cannot shape a South African policy on that basis. One of the issues were insisting that there must be beneficiation close to the point of production. We agree with the industry on that. And we're saying mining companies that work in South Africa must actually participate in ensuring that there's beneficiation close to the point of production. And the question of tariffs, if minerals are excluded from tariffs, which minerals? If it is, for example, PGMs, I will understand as a mining person that it is ideal if Neil negotiate outside of the South African framework with American government, that he can supply PGMs through still waters into America. That is a different matter. But our standard is that if we're a recipient of 30% tariffs, it is going to tax and cost heavily on South African industry and the economy.
According to a Bloomberg article, so serious was this proposal that it was even given a name, and it was, and I quote now, "Make minerals great again." And this is also something you took umbrage to, because you said you have a problem with that language as well. Is that indeed what you know?
That was not the sentence, Oli. The sentence was, make minerals great in America again. I'm not in America. I'm in South Africa. If that is a contribution to make America great again at the cost of South Africa, I will never agree with that, because it is dangerous to South Africa.
Was the president, do you know whether the president and the team of people that he took to Washington with, do you know whether this was part of the discussions there? Because you are very clear, you were not party to this, but the proposal was made to him nonetheless ahead of that meeting.
It was not. It was not, because I engaged the team before they left here. The department, a negotiating process led by the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition is underway now. And the question of critical minerals is part of that discussion. And our insistence on our team is that don't sell critical minerals for a song. Critical minerals must be part of the trade on the basis of principles that we all agree on, that will make South African economy stronger. What we should not do, Oli, is to go on very soft walks to appease America at a huge cost for South Africa. We must protect South Africa as an economy. And that includes not only focusing on America, beginning to work on diversifying the market space that we want to go to. And to me, that there's no shortcut to that. For example, if you talk things like LNG, for example, we have an American company that is running a company that is drilling for helium in Tennyson, Virginia fuel. That company is an American company with a Southern partner. Our argument is that it is not in America, it is here. It must actually comply with the framework of South African economy and make South Africa benefit from the helium discovery. And they will get our support.
The understanding, Minister Mantashe, is that mineral exports are largely excluded from this wave of tariffs that is going to come into force tomorrow. If that is your understanding as well, give us your thoughts as to why you think this is and whether you still hold the view that South Africa actually should withhold its minerals from America as a way to retaliate against what the Trump administration is imposing on the country.
Koli, minerals are part of the economy. A discussion that is held in South Africa must not ring-fence minerals because Trump wants critical minerals. We should not allow that. We must have a standard agreement that covers South African economy and the relationship with the United States of America. If you try to ring-fence critical minerals because America is interested, but it penalizes everybody else, it is not a fair deal, and that deal should not be entered into by South Africa.
And so South Africa should withhold its minerals from America. Is that your position?
Actually, South African companies must begin to diversify their market access for their minerals and not focus on America if it is hostile.
Minister Mantashe, thank you very much for your time. The Minister of Minerals talking very clearly about South Africa's policy vis-a-vis what America wants.